Once upon a time, I was in college to become an English major. I was writing this book called The Fate of Cornell, which I never finished. I scrapped it and started writing Little Red Wolf instead. And I was getting my butt kicked in that book. I was really having a hard time with it. And so I go to the class of Dr. Curtis White, an elderly gentleman who's on the verge of retirement, who knows a lot of things. And he said, there are 3 pillars of writing: plot, character, and voice. And if you have 2 of them, if you do 2 of them really well, you have a hit. Then the Twilight books came out, and, none of us knew why that made money, because the characters were garbage, the plot was stupid, and the author was very unskilled in her prose. So the voice was terrible. And then 50 Shades of Grey came out, and we were all like, why do these rules not work? But I have always held that as exceptions to the rule, not the rule. Every once in a while, something very strange and out of the ordinary happens. Sometimes lightning just strikes. Sometimes people just win the lottery. If I do it that way, it's not going to work. I need some kind of a structure. So, the big 3. Plot, character, voice. I'll make videos about all 3 of these. Plot. Oh, and he said plot was the least important of the 3. To which I immediately rose my hand and I was like, I'm sorry, sir. That is the one I'm having the hardest time with. What do I do? And so he gave me a book. Well, first he said, come see me after class. Not because I was in trouble, because he legitimately wanted to talk. And when I talked to him after class, he handed me a book, The Energy of Delusion by Victor Shklovsky. And Victor Shklovsky was doing a book on the Russian Renaissance before the Soviet Union showed up and killed all the interesting and smart people. People like Tolstoy, who was a name I had kind of heard but never read his stuff. And then he did this book about a man who's dying in bed, which is not an interesting plot, but he managed to make it interesting. So interesting, I went back and reread it a couple times. So, what Victor Shklovsky pointed out was the thing that Shakespeare pointed out. There aren't really any new stories. We're just rehashing old tales. There's only, 5 plots? 7, maybe? I don't know what they are off the top of my head. I'll have to look that up. Maybe do a video about that. But, there's the adventure plot, the coming-of-age plot, the romantic plot. There's the mystery. There's a handful of those. You may call them genres. But really, the plots are... people keep trying to reinvent the wheel and making movies we don't really like, books we are not interested in. But if you can look at the classical structure of a story, there's only a few of those out there. And once you've realized that, it becomes less scary. Because it's not, oh, what am I going to have them do? It's, okay, they're going to go on this adventure. They're going to have to grow. And so what I started to do, I started literally looking at other people's stories, which is what you're supposed to do. If you are a professional, you need to engage in the literature of other professionals in your profession. Which for me means read a bunch of other people's stories. And then what you do is you go and you take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and you roll it all up into your story. And then you put your type of prose over the top of it. And as long as you're not afraid to be yourself while writing these bits and pieces of other people's stories, you can make it into your story. You use other people's stories as the framework. You use other people's stories as the foundation. Other people's stories as guidance. Don't plagiarize. That's lazy. But if you can take a story like Alice in Wonderland or Little Red Riding Hood or any one of a million stories that are running through the world, hell, take The Matrix and make it your own. Take Star Wars and wrap your own spin around it. Whatever stories interest you, take those stories, put your characters in them, put your voice to it, and you can achieve all kinds of amazing things. But don't be afraid of the plots. Which, honestly, is me talking to myself, because plot always scares me. I've been doing this for 15 years. Plot still scares me. I always look at the unwritten pages, the big canvases of white with that little cursor blinking in the corner, and I just go, what am I gonna do? Because, I'm about to embark on an adventure. And the first part of any good adventure is excitement and anxiety. More on that later.